Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Friday. Hurrah, Friday. Oh, it's been a week. It has been a challenging week. I don't know about you lot. Anyway, it's Friday now and we're all here. But it'll sort. Definitely need some major smudging going on. But anyway, welcome to Friday. If you are watching, do please pop a hello in the comments. So no, I'm not talking to myself. Good morning, Ruby. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Diane. Eric's fast asleep in his armchair, Karen. He's so lazy. So lazy. Good morning, Lisa. Good evening, Zephora. Welcome to Friday. Whew. You know, have you ever had one of those weeks where you think, I don't have the words? It's been one of those. Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Luna. Yeah, onwards and upwards, as they say. So, what have we got? Oh, lots of stuff going on. Tons of stuff going on. Whew. Myself, Ness and Heather will be at Raw Eden Apothecary on Sunday to run our Candle Magic workshop, which has sold out. Thank you so much to everyone that's joining us. Tons of stuff going online. We've got do you know, we're almost fully booked for next year already. So if you haven't invited us to your festival event for next year, get in now because the diary's almost full. Check the websites. You know the routine. It's all going on. It's all up there. Good morning, husband. I've seen you already this morning. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Kerry and Ebony in Cloudy Llanelli. Yeah, it's a bit grey over here too. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Claire. Diane, at the minute, everyone is one of those weeks. Yeah, it does feel like it sometimes, doesn't it? Good morning, Paul. Well, onwards and upwards, as they say. So yeah, lots of stuff going on. Check the websites. Tons of stuff. Good morning, Emma. Good morning, Lolly. My events page, the Kitchen Witch events page on the websites. Have a look, see what we're up to. Shenanigans, mostly. Good morning, Xenia. Cold, grey and drech. That's a good word, isn't it, outside? Still having a cold. Love your setup, the autumn background. Hope I have you on the big screen. Oh, dear. Yes, we are on the new software. Eve Mux, not sure, which is half the price of StreamYard and seems to be absolutely brilliant, she says. Fingers crossed. So we'll see. Sephora, well done, Pete, on splendid birthday presents. I had several splendid birthday presents from Pete. He is very good at birthday present buying. Yes, the new stand. It's still got nothing on it. I'm waiting to see what I need to put on it. The room's a bit chaotic and twirly at the minute. Once that's sorted, I will put something wonderful on it. Good morning, Lee, from a grey and drech. Yeah, that's the word of the day, isn't it? Shropshire. Definitely. Oh yes, book launch. Thank you. Hedge Witch, The Art of Hedge Riding, online book launch, 30th of November, 7 till 8 p.m. Good morning, Nita. Love the background. Yeah, it's autumn. I love autumn. Autumn and winter, my seasons. Xenia, Eve Mux looks brilliant. Yes, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it seems to all be working. Fingers crossed. Ruby, trying to read your t-shirt. This was a present from Pete. Here we go. You needed at least 3 witches for a coven. 2 witches was just an argument. Terry Pratchett quote, and a very fabulous picture of Magrat, Nanny Og, and Granny Weatherwax. Any resemblance to myself, Ness, and Heather purely coincidental. But fabulous. It's Terry Pratchett. All hail Terry Pratchett. Yeah, bless him. The world is a sadder place without him, that's for sure. Good morning, Trudy. So, after last week's chat, and a few people kind of losing their connection, feeling a bit disconnected, floating aimlessly, that's the subject for today, is about your connection, your spiritual connection. Have you lost it? Have you lost it now? Have you lost it before? How did you get back? So, a bit of support for each other, finding your way. Interestingly enough, I recorded one of the Pagan Portal podcasts this week with an absolute legend, let me tell you. The first episode in January is legendary, will be legendary. And they were talking about connection and losing your connection and that kind of realization, particularly for people like myself that organize stuff. you do get to a point where you think, right, I've organized that workshop, I've organized that talk, I've done that interview, I've organized that ritual, I've done this. You realize at some point that you are organizing lots of stuff and it's all good spiritual witchy stuff, but you're not actually doing anything yourself for your own witchcraft path or spiritual path. And that's probably where I am at the minute. There's so much stuff going on. There's a really exciting thing for me personally going on, which will be announced at the end of the year. Sorry to be vague, but it's taking up a lot of my time. So I find on occasion that I'm doing a lot of organizational stuff. I'm not actually doing my own spiritual stuff. So how do we kind of get out of that funk? How do you bring yourself back if you realize that you've lost your connection? So hints, tips, any thoughts, any insights, let's support each other and see if we can't get us all back on the witchcraft pony. That's the subject for today. The apothecary is fabulous. It is. I'd fill it with crystals. There's all sorts of stuff I could put in it. It's just narrowing it down. It is a great t-shirt, Zenny. Yes, the fabulous Sir Pratchett. Good morning, Angela, from a still foggy France. Been foggy for 8 days running now. It's no longer ethereal, it's more depressing. Yeah, the weather does get to you, doesn't it? It does get to you. Luna, need this chat today. I've been trying really hard to reconnect. I'm getting there slowly. It does happen towards. I think that's important to remember. Even for folk like myself who've been on this witchcraft, pagan, spiritual pathway for over 30 years now, I still fall off it occasionally. It happens. It happens to all of us. You aren't alone. It's just a case of finding why you've fallen off is probably a good starting point, and then how you get back on it. So let's get some of these up here. So Jane, when I jumped off the Catholic roller coaster, I felt lost for a while. Took a long time to get my witchy mojo back. It's not as simple as picking up where you left off because everything's changed so much. Good point. It was bewildering. Very good point. I think that is very important to remember that you can't or shouldn't necessarily jump back in exactly where you were before. We change, time changes, witchcraft changes, magical practices change. It's all a fluid thing. It's not static. So it is about that realization. And I think that's part of it, is deciding where you want to jump back in is quite important too. Kerry, my path has seemed to come to a block as spending loads of time dealing with family stuff, that happens, which seems to be coming thick and fast and from all direction. I think probably my biggest gap was when I had a baby, which is, it's quite a good excuse to keep you busy with things. Life happens. It does. Life happens. Life gets in the way of interesting stuff all the time. And I think it's important not to beat yourself up about it as well. It happens. Do what you need to do. And sometimes other stuff takes priority. Lisa, lost my connection, but I'm connecting again now. Not the first time, but I don't fret about it anymore when it happens. Just go with the flow and know I will naturally connect again when the time is right. That is a very good attitude to have. And I think that is important to know that sometimes other things do take your attention, and family and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes they are very important and you have to prioritize. Obviously, our faith and our spirituality are very important, but sometimes other things come in and you have to shuffle it about a bit. It's still there. I think it's important to know that that spirituality is still there, that the gods are still there, that whoever you believe in is still there, and they'll wait. Sephora, Venetian glass jars full of dried flowers and crystals. I have got all of my antique glass connection. It would not fit on there. Oh, it's the tea boy. Hello.
Tea boy?
Tea boy.
Tea.
Tea. What have we got today? Mint.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Carry on.
It's not a... What was it yesterday? Nutcracker latte.
Oh, yeah. Is that the one you liked?
Yeah, that was very nice. Let's get another one up. Xenia, usually lose spiritual connection and lost it when a lot of life happens. Yeah, and it's distracting me. When lots has to be done in the mundane world, the more spare time I have, the more I spoons energy I have for spiritual practice. Yeah. If I'm out of energy or stressed or shocked, nothing happens. And that's okay. I think it's really important to know that it's okay. It is okay not to practice magic. It is okay not to do all the spiritual stuff if other stuff comes in. Obviously, if you can get a bit of balance in there, then doing things like meditation and spiritual work help you get through things. But sometimes it can be just overwhelming. Emma, don't know if I'm near the witchy wagon or still running far behind it. You'll get there, Emma. You will get there. Good morning, Susie. Good morning, Maria. Sephora, for you busy folks, you basically have to put time in your diary and don't sacrifice it, even if it's just to spend time reconnecting with nature or reading a good book. Now, I have to do that. My whole life is organised. It has to be. I still have my nice 1985 Filofax for my notes and things, but I do have an online diary as well now on my phone. And yet, sometimes you do have to schedule in often and off. My time off at the moment is to watch cheesy Hallmark Christmas films because it makes me happy. Sometimes I do have to just schedule in time out to read a book. Self-care, that's a big part of self-care, I think, as well. Get this one up. Jane, COVID lockdown was a big disconnect for a lot of us. It was awful not being able to spend time with our tribe. Missed all the workshops and events in a certain bookshop in London. Sadly, they've not come back to the level they were at before. We've mentioned this before. I think COVID was a big game changer for a lot of things. And I think it probably put a lot of stuff online. It definitely put a lot of stuff online. This is where this started. But I think it perhaps made particularly retail businesses decide what was profitable and what wasn't. And bottom line for all retail companies is they have to make money. It's sad, but true. Some things change for the better, other things not so much. Matter of perspective, I get. Good morning, Jodie. Welcome. Good morning, David. Luna. Oh, I'm not clicking these properly. Right, I guess it's nature's way of cleaning out the old, and when you're ready, you can start afresh again. I think that is also important to mention is when you come back to it, it might be completely different, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe you've had a disconnect because you need to completely reset and go off in a different direction. That's one of my suggestions anyway, is to look. Maybe you're having a disconnect because you need to go somewhere else. It's just a thought to put out there. Hannah, my pagan spirituality morphs into something more Christian at this time of the year, but I find as long as I'm connected to nature, I don't lose my way. Interesting. Yeah, I get where you're coming from there, Hannah. Good morning, Emily. Busy and stressful week on my end too. Yeah, hasn't it been? I felt bewildered and losing my path when I've been reading a lot about the path. People argue so much and there's so much misinformation. Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there. Do not trust everything that you read on the internet. Find yourself some reliable sources. Get recommendations from people that you trust. But I think reading is perhaps one of the good ways to find your way back in. Perhaps read something that originally inspired you. Go back to those first books that got you on the pathway. The books that first got me on the pathway are probably classed as vintage now. But go back to them and reread them. I mean, if anything, it might give you a laugh at how things were 30 odd years ago in the witchcraft world. But it's a good starting point. Or just randomly pick a book off of your bookshelf. Go to the library and look at their occult section. Pick a book at random. See what jumps out at you. Might be that you need to take a few steps backwards. I actually think it's quite a good idea every so often to go back to basics. We forget the basics of the craft of spirituality. Sometimes it's a good idea to go back and just refresh yourself. And maybe that is what's needed when you have a reset. Or maybe you're going to pick up something completely different to add to your pathway. But I think reading things is a good starting point, just randomly. Nita, I've been on my pathway since I was 10, which is now 63 years ago. Have fallen off many times just with life interfering. Yeah, that seems to be the key thing. When I've got back in the groove again, it's always been stronger. Have been consistent now for about 25 years. Finding like-minded people who are supportive has been amazing. That's also a big point, isn't it? Finding people, and that is for me the plus point of COVID, was that the internet opened up and we managed to connect with so many different people across the globe. That for me is a big positive. You can talk to like-minded people. You can find people who will support you, which is all good. Good morning, Jalala. Diane, when I feel I've lost my magic, I stick with the simple things and get real pleasure just from manifesting a car park space. Hey, I live on the edge of the city. Manifesting a car park space is a major achievement. Goddess Mother, turn your face and find for me a parking space. The amount of times I've chanted that mantra is unreal. But I think you're right. I think it is the simple things, isn't it? It is basics. Don't leap back into anything really complicated. Start with the basics. Angela, sometimes not a good idea to practice. It can cause chaos if you're not in the right state of mind. Absolutely. Never work magic if you are cross, angry, ill, chaotic and twirly. Absolutely. Sometimes I think the disconnect is there for a reason. It is to give you breathing space. It is pressing the pause button so that you can clear some stuff out. And that's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Xenia, COVID lockdown was the best time for me to get spiritual connection because in my country nothing happens and suddenly everything moved online. Suddenly I had access to talks, teachings, and now my pagan family and these live chats. Felt lost when most of them stopped again. Now I'm travelling to the UK a lot to keep connection with my pagans. I think we had so many people once everything opened up again contacting us and saying, please don't stop the online stuff, because it had reached so many people and made a connection with so many people. So that's why we still do it. Zephora, if you look at astrology, someone like Pam Gregory is talking about how testing times are from an astrology point of view. Maybe this is affecting folks. Could well be. The universe and all of those planets, they have a bit of an effect. Good morning, Tina. Lost spiritual connection a few years, lost heart and felt completely lost in myself. Made the conscious decision to go back to my witchy roots. I started your course. Thank you. I'm glad it helped. That's also a thing. If you keep a journal, I don't. I'm honest about it. I'm rubbish at journaling. Lots and lots of notes about things, but not actual journaling. I guess my journal is really this talking. If you keep a journal, then that's one way to get yourself back in, is to flip back through your journal and reread. If you've got a grimoire or a book of shadows, I found my original book of shadows when we were clearing out the loft. It's here. I'm going to get it. Now, I haven't added to it for a long time because I tend to keep everything online now. But this was my first book of shadows. Oh, it's quite heavy. There's my blessing, look. Oh, Book of Shadows dedication in the front. And then all of the different tabs for things. That is heavy. What have I got? Other traditions. Plants and trees, herbalism, chakras, moon phases, wheel of the year, rituals, deity, elements, prose, meditation, spells, crafts, oils, candle magic, magical alphabets, runes, scrying, tools, divination, pendulum, days of the week, crafts, auras, dragons, colour magic, all sorts of things. That was fun to have a look at again and to find that it had been buried in the depths of the loft. So that's actually quite a good thing, is to look back at your original Book of Shadows if you have one, just to kind of inspire, really. Jody, I make magic out of putting on my jewelry in the morning. Say my morning blessing and light incense, stir magic into my coffee. I can go about my day happy. Come home and bless what I cook. I think that's a big part of working witchcraft into your daily routine. A lot of people say to me, I don't know how you have time to be a witch. I don't separate me and witchcraft. I'm a witch whatever I'm doing, whether I'm running the payroll for my real job or cleaning the floor or out for a walk. I'm a witch whatever I'm doing. So part of it is about making these little tweaks to make or bring magic into your life, and stirring magic into coffee is a brilliant way to start the day. Xenia, I find practicing alone is not the same. For magic, yes, but for Sabbath celebrations and rituals, I prefer community. I think it's about getting the balance, isn't it? And perhaps that is, again, another bonus of online. You can work as a solitary, but you can also be part of a community if you want to as well. It is about getting the balance that works for you. Trudy, feeling disconnected at the moment as family and life commitments have taken priority. That is the overriding distraction. Always seems to be. Just try to get to a surreal place, whether it's a candle and bath or walking in nature. Tree quitching, good word, does it for me. Nature, I think, is one of the key things. I jotted down some notes, actually. I am writing a book about daily practice, but it's because lots of other stuff keeps getting in the way. Book writing's a bit low down the list at the minute. So I jotted down some notes from that to kind of give prompts, and nature is top of the list. Even if you just open a window and breathe in the fresh air, or open the windows and let the air come through the house, that's a good starting point. If you can go outside in the garden or for a walk, connect with nature. We've talked about connection. You know it's my key thing, connecting with the energy around you, and I think that's a good starting point. The other thing that I often do is clear my altar. Sometimes I clear it completely and leave it empty for a while. Another kind of breather, press the pause button, and then gradually see what I'm inspired to put back. Sometimes I just clear it all off, clean it, and put everything back on again afresh. But I find the altar, because it's a focal point, that's kind of a key kick-off for me. Meditation, if you can start back into your meditation practice, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes a day, is good. Reading books, I mentioned, pick a book, pick an old book, pick a new book, see where it takes you. Music, you're working with your senses. We've talked about music and magic, but pick something like Practical Magic soundtrack. It's always going to make you feel witchy. Deity. If you work with a deity, reconnect with them, set them up an altar, make them an offering, meditate with them, or pick a new deity. See where that takes you. Crystals, if you work with crystals, clear your crystals out, clean them, cleanse them all, sort them all, see if anything jumps out at you, meditate with one of them. Herbs, if you've got a herbal cupboard, give that a good sort out, a good clear out, throw out all the old stuff you don't want anymore. Connect with those that jump out at you. Food is the same. If you are a kitchen witch and into adding magic to your food, think about all the ingredients as you cook the meal. And you can do this anyway, and it's a good idea to do regularly anyway, particularly if life stuff's happening. Take a moment while you're cooking the family meal and connect with the energy of the ingredients and see what magic there is in there. If you like to sing, dance, drum, something that raises energy, then set some time aside to do that. Crafting, if you make crafts of any kind, find the magic in that. If you love incense or oils, make yourself a new incense blend or a new oil blend. Connect with the ingredients, and then you've got it to use as well to inspire you. I think you time is important. Taking self-care time is just as important as sort of finding your way back to your spirituality. Ritual is a good one. Write yourself a ritual to reconnect, or find a ritual online and work that ritual just to bring that reconnection. Work a spell to reconnect. Candle magic, or make a pouch or a witch's jar to help you reconnect. Reach out to community. Reach out to the people around you. Reach out to your other witchy folk and just say, hey, I'm floundering a bit. Any suggestions? Hopefully there will be support out there for you. Colour magic. Pick different colours. What are you wearing today? Why are you wearing that colour? And what magic do you connect with it? I think magic, colour magic, is really important, particularly for affecting our moods. Wear something that makes you feel witchy. We've probably all got bits of Stevie Nicks' wardrobe somewhere hidden about. If it makes you feel witchy, put it on. Open your kitchen cupboard and look at the ingredients and see what magic there is there. See what magical properties they've got. Have a look in your local area for any sacred sites, or have a look at folklore calendars and see what folklore dates are round about, which is a witch for every season. Got a whole list of them. And connect with the folklore dates in your area. Magical baking, magical cooking, using your senses, connecting with the elements, whatever you're doing, whether it is housework or reading or working. Go through the day and work out what elements you think they're connected to. Everything that you do is connected to. Just lots and lots of things. Bring magic into your daily life. When you're cleaning, chant when you're dusting, and add essential oils to your cleaning products and all sorts of things. Everyday stuff that can help us reconnect. Sorry, lost all the things now. Lisa. Spent time cleansing and rearranging my altar last week, which helped my reconnection. And I'm enjoying Rachel's books again at the moment. Thank you. No, thank you. Also watching my other favourite witches on YouTube. Noted the upcoming moon phases too, as I love connecting with her. Perfect. And watching witchy stuff too. rewatch Charmed or Discovery of Witches or I don't know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you feel connected to that witchcraft. Emma, my disconnection came before lockdown. My pathway does feel different from where I left it. Seriously considering rereading Wicca and Witchcraft and Dummies. Do it. The spiritual pathway, the pagan pathway, the witchcraft pathway never goes straight like that. It goes like that. And off there and down there and up there and all over the place. It doesn't, you don't have to rejoin it where you left it. In fact, spice it up a bit. Know that going with the flow is far easier and meant to be. Don't have to jump back in where you left off. Hannah, found when my parents died, I was confused about my spirituality. Didn't stop believing in the divine. I just didn't know whether I was being punished. It made me reassess my path rather than totally drop away. I think any big life-changing event like that has got to affect how you see the world. Absolutely. It does. It shakes us. Things like that shake us, for sure. Luna, absolutely agree with going back to basics. I've been reading through some of my old books. I think that's fun to do anyway. I think that's interesting to do anyway, going back to those basics. Diane, funnily enough, I spent a couple of hours reorganising my witchy books last week. 10 minutes reorganise, an hour and 50 minutes resisting my old books. Yes. Yeah, that's the thing when you have a clear out. It is half an hour to clear everything out, but 17 days looking at all the stuff that you've cleared out. Xenia, also mingle. Finally have my St. Jude statue on my pagan altar, which I promised him to get long ago. Found it in a London hoodoo store. Excellent. Maria, I think everything went a little sideways with everything being locked. It made me incredibly anxious and nothing felt the same, and there wasn't that excitement about anything anymore. It was a bizarre time. Unprecedented, really. Very weird times to live through. There will be whole sections in history A-levels dedicated to it in years to come. Very strange. David, I'm always wary when David's sentences begin with As witches, we have to deal with worlds. That's all the worlds. Oh, yes, we don't just have the mundane, do we? Sometimes I have to put the magic in the chest and deal with the other life. Yes. Didn't practice for 30 years, but when I came back, my connection was still there and the gods didn't care. The gods will be there. They will, absolutely. There's always, don't worry about your connection. Something it's needed to let go and listen to at the moment. Not sure that makes, it does make sense. And I think there are questions to ask. If you've lost that connection, if you're feeling a bit bewildered, there are a set of questions to ask. There's actually a blog on my personal blog about losing your connection, and it's got some bullet points to kind of prompt you. But there are questions. Have a think about why. What's the reason that you've lost your connection? Most of it is because life stuff happens. So see if you can work out the reason why. See if it is because life happens, because something major has happened. Is it because other stuff's taking your time? Is it because you've been lazy? It happens sometimes. Or is it because your pathway needs a pause? You just need to take a breather. Is it because your pathway needs to take you somewhere else? There's lots of questions to ask to ascertain why it's happened and what you need to go do to make it go forward. Just don't pressure yourself. Definitely don't stress about it. Tina, going from pagan most of my life to Christianity, I lost my spirituality. Gave myself a good talking to and came back home to pagan and witchcraft. Happy me, plus going back to basics. And I think that's interesting too. I spent 6 years of my late teens at a Baptist church. I had a very strong faith. just didn't know at the time that I wasn't quite in the right area. But I think it was right for the time. It was what I needed then to lay the foundations for my faith, for my spirituality. But I also think, don't forget that you can merge some things too. Your spirituality, your pathway doesn't have to be, right, that's it, in a box. Can't move outside of that box. There are lots of ways to mix and match with things. My spiritual pathway takes bits and pieces from a huge spiritual buffet and puts them all together. So I think it's important to remember that it doesn't have to be exactly one thing. It can be lots of things come together. And actually, that's what I like about witchcraft and paganism. You can make the pathway your own. Jane, I find it helps to completely strip a cluttered, dusty bomb site of an altar and do it again from scratch. It's such a mess, I've forgotten what's on there. I think that's important anyway, regardless of whether you have fallen off the spirituality wagon. Dust and clutter restrict energy flow. It's boring, but it's a fact. Sometimes you have to make like Snow White to clear stuff out. Because anything, if it is left and it's got all of that dust and it's got all of that rubbish on it, your energy's not going to flow. It is going to block some of that energy. So I think it's a routine thing. It's a good practice to do anyways, to clear it out. Ruby, activities like this one have strengthened my practice because I can't get out of the house to meet up others. This for me it's almost like my weekly journaling is to sit here chatting with you guys. It's connections. It's connections for all of us. And I am absolutely 150 million% grateful to everyone for the community that we've brought together. We've brought together, not just me, but we've brought together here. I hope it is supportive for lots of people. I know it is for me, and I tend to learn something new every week. So thank you guys for that, really. Yeah, we're all in this together, let's support each other. Xenia, love the simple things like rain stopping when I go out. It's a powerful weather witch. Susie, parking space manifestation is part of urban witchcraft. Don't knock it. Oh, I wasn't. It is a big part of my practice. Lee, haven't done anything witchy for nearly 20 years. Finding Kitchen Witch School was a way for me to get back into the swing and find support. Bless you. I think it is, perhaps part of it is finding something that inspires you. I don't like rules. I don't like being told what to do. That won't surprise you. But I do like structure. I do like organisation. I find I learn better. And I still do courses. 30 odd years on, I still do courses in various things. I've usually got one or two different things going on at any one time. And I like the structure of learning that brings me. But it's not going to work for everyone. So do what works for you. Karen, the path is windy. Sometimes it winds down a quiet, do-nothing area. Yes. It's not so much a disconnect, but more like a pause. I think that's important to remember. It is important to remember. It's also important to remember that my boots squeak. If you can hear a squeaky noise, that's my boots. For some reason, they squeak every time I move my feet. My nan would say that's because they weren't paid for, but I promise you they were. Sorry, that was random. I could just hear this squeaking noise in the background. Maria, this year I have hardly visited the woods and tend to go there when I'm feeling overwhelmed instead of just going because I love being there as before. Need to find that reason again. That is an interesting viewpoint. Yes, for me it's the ocean. The ocean's luckily only a 5-minute drive from me, and I like to go there because it's my peaceful, happy place. But yeah, we get into that situation, don't we, where we only end up going to those places when we feel overwhelmed. And really, we should make time to go there just because. Yeah, it's a good point. Good point, Maria. Emma, I feel illness causes a lot of my disconnect. I never practice whilst ill, both physically or mentally, and that is very wise. And it's a very good point too. I am, thankfully, coming out the other side of the menopause. Oh, that's been a rocky ride for everyone in my family, including not just me. And that has, it's had a very big impact on it. Very, very big impact. I think that is about doing what you can when you can and not beating yourself up about it. Sephora. Think too, like nature, we wax and wane. Yeah, that's interesting too. During the summer, particularly when all the pagan festivals are on, we find it really difficult to connect with people. You won't get many people coming online. You won't get people doing their homeworks. It's like summer is like a yay, let's go outside and party. Now that autumn is coming and the winter, it's obviously the other way around for those in the southern hemisphere. But there are certain times of the year when you do tend to stay inside more. Autumn, winter for me are hibernation months, but getting stuff written. She says, hopefully. Yeah, so it is. We're going with the flow again, aren't we? Yeah, that is good to do. Luna, love looking back on old stuff you've written. It makes you see how far you've come. Unless you are an author and you've had books published and you look back at your first book that you wrote 13 years ago and think, really? Did I write that? Yeah, it is. It is about looking back on your pathway and seeing how much you've changed. And that happens all the time. But it's an interesting exercise to do. Sephora. That's such a PA book of shadows. There's no chaos witness there. No, this is for most of my working life. The last 32 years, I've been a personal assistant to a CEO. So you can tell that my book of shadows is a personal assistant book. I've had other jobs, but for the last 32 years, it has, I'm organised. It hands. Xenia, rubbish at journaling. Write down most shamanic journeys, but not when and how. I've done spells and which day and moon phase and weather, but I write down the recipe itself. And communications with spirits and gods. Can't be bothered with that amount of work. It has to work for you. I am rubbish at it. Yeah, I am rubbish at keeping records of things like that. But it has to work for you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right, I'm just find that one. Xenia, I have a similar book of shadows. Oh, good. The folders up, yes. I like the lever arch files because you can add stuff and take stuff away. And I've decorated pages too. Let's have a look. Perhaps we'll do a talk on Book of Shadows. Yeah, we'll do a talk on Book of Shadows and I'll take it all apart. I've decorated some of the pages as well to make them more personal. Emma, why do I feel like we should be taking notes from all those tabs? Yeah, we'll do a Book of Shadows chat. That'll be fun. Mine has similar tabs all through them. Got a few now. Relaxation therapies is part of mine too. Nice. Right, hang on. Let me just... do that. Right, sorry. I'm clicking stuff. Right. Jane, I often pick up one of my old Book of Shadows and read it. I'm up to volume 8 now. Impressive. Really need to start making an index. Oh yeah, before it takes ages to find anything. Yes. My online filing is a little bit more random than this very organised book. Hannah, I write poetry in line with what's happening in nature at the time or how I'm feeling. Nice. Put it on my blog, and because it's dated, I find it's a handy reference for what was happening in nature in previous years. Bit like journaling. Absolutely. Absolutely. Journaling, I think we think of initially as writing things down by hand in a book, but it doesn't have to be, does it? I think if you have a blog, that is very much a source of journaling. If you waffle inanely like I do on these things, it's kind of a source of journaling. Absolutely. Claire, activate a sigil. Sigils, yes, to reconnect would be brilliant to create a sigil. Excellent idea. Lisa, been sleeping with my rose quartz under my pillow lately to help to reconnect. Woke up first morning, forgot, lifted my pillow and the rose quartz fell out and hit me right between the eyes. In your third eye, perhaps? Bobby and I cracked up laugh. Yes, that would make me laugh too. Tina, this is so funny. I'm listening to loads of Stevie Nicks lately and doing pretty much everything you've just said. Yay! I'm glad I'm not talking absolute rubbish. Thank you for that. Ruby, I embellished a sweatshirt that I wear when I want to connect more. Nice. I think there are certain things that are keys to switch you into magical mode. If you have a cloak, that would be brilliant. I don't wear a cloak to ritual very often because I find it really impractical, but they are nice to make you feel magical. It might be druid robes. It might be an embellished jumper. It might be a shawl. I have a meditation shawl that I use when I meditate that kind of switches me into meditation mode. Yeah, some things like that are keys to switch you into the right frame of mind. Xenia, yes, even if my gods or spirits sometimes say, finally, I'm back again, they're not offended or petty. No, happy to see me back. They're not like humans. No, deity, divine, don't think like humans at all. Maria, rose quartz does nothing for me under my pillow. I tried it for sleep a long time ago. I think with crystals, I must stop saying I think. I know from my personal experience with crystals that not every crystal is going to work the same for every person. Each crystal has its own unique personality. I would say I would not associate you with rose quartz at all, Maria. You need to find something a bit more oomph to it, definitely. But it has to connect with each person. There are some crystals that I don't really work with. There are others that I don't get on with. Cannot work with hematite at all. Just our personalities clash. So it's about finding the right one that works for you. Very true, Diane. Very true. It's not called the crooked path for nothing. It's never a straight one, that's for sure. Good morning, Eve. Xenia. Watching witchy films and TV series also helps. Also watching real witches, YouTube videos and podcasts. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And while you're watching this YouTube channel, do subscribe because, it's all good. My bit of marketing going in there. Jane, getting so lazy with spellcasting. Most times I just think of an intent and leave it at that. Do you know what? I think that's part of the journey as well. That's part of the pathway. Once you have worked a lot of spells, once you have that experience, sometimes the intent is all that it takes. It is interesting. Lee, perhaps it's the time of year. Autumn, winter encourages introspection and reevaluate. Yes, absolutely. Practices in general. Maybe that's so why so many of us are looking back at old books, etc. I think it does. And autumn and winter are a time for going inwards. Absolutely. Diane, lockdown was weird. I'm always busy, but I found I loved the solitude the lockdown gave me. Yes, it was slightly different in our household because I continued to work because I work from home. My husband started working from home, so he was working full time. Our son was doing online school. My daughter and her husband both work at a school, so they worked full time. They were there looking after the key worker children. So our lives we didn't have that kind of pause that a lot of people had. It just moved all for us online at home. It didn't really change that much from that point of view. We didn't have, weeks off or anything. But yeah, it definitely was a very weird experience. Hi, Sue. Nita. Just realised I've not written in my grimoire for weeks. Just updating it now. Thank you for the reminder. You're welcome. Tina, just had a thought. Could spiritual connection loss also be because it's time to change deity? Yeah, I do think that. I think it can be a prompt to change your direction, but it can also be a prompt to change who you've worked with. Maybe there is someone else out there trying to get your attention. It is perhaps a prompt to listen and pay attention, because someone else might be, waving desperately at you to get your attention, whether it is deity, divine, otherworldly, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Emma, been investigating the Norse pantheon after being contacted by Thor during the storms. Probably because I blame Thor for moving his furniture during a storm. The Morrigan doesn't like Thor. No, I think that's also a thing. If you are looking to work with a new deity, if someone has caught your attention, bear in mind that if you do have deities that you work with, they might, the Kalach is never very happy when I start working with someone else. Just bear that in mind. But pay attention, because someone else will be getting your attention for a reason. Guten Morgen, girl. Guten Morgen. Jane, my faith these days is more about fusion. We can flip between different teachers, deities, practice, etc., and keep tasting things to find what resonates with us. Absolutely. Absolutely. Lisa, wonderful group. It's very helpful and supportive. Thank you all. Yes, big thank you to everyone. Absolutely. Oh, where do you think you've been? Good morning, Heather. That's all right. We have a kitchen witch meeting this evening, so you're all good. Xenia, don't the squeaky boots attract Eric's attention? He's downstairs at the minute, but they are very squeaky, creaky. Xenia, so during illness, weakness and stress, we need spiritual practice most. But on the other hand, these situations take away the energy to do it. Any suggestions? Yeah, we're in a bit of a swings and roundabout situation sometimes, aren't you? Rather than doing spells and such, just sit at the altar, light a candle and do nothing, or go to the woods for comfort and energy. Low maintenance witchcraft to get energy. I think you've answered your own question there, Xenia. I think it is important to start with the basics and to start small. If you're going back into it, don't leap headlong into it with all bells and whistles. One step at a time. Yeah, you did answer your own question there. Sit with it for a bit and see what happens. Any of those, says Maria, or just comforting thoughts? Yep, indeed. Karen, take photos so I can see what's happening in nature year on year. Very nice idea to keep a record of things. Very nice. Like Maria, in times of stress and exhaustion, I went to our local English landscape park with old mighty oaks for comfort and energy. Worked. I was feeling better and energized. Nature usually does the trick. Absolutely. Eve, I found since chronic illnesses hit, I can't physically go to rituals, then moots disbanded. I do altars and candle magic or just burn candles most nights. Why I like the online ones. I feel I belong again. Yep, absolutely. And you're not alone there, Eve. You're not alone there. It's the same for lots of people. Maria, trying to take less so I enjoy the experience more. I think that goes for anything, doesn't it? About opening up all your senses and living in the now, man. Living in that moment and taking in everything that's around you in that moment. David, I think it's important to remember magic isn't just about sparkling glitter and wands. But also the silence, the darkness, and just the sound of the wind. Yes. Be still, do nothing, listen to the worlds. David, you are a wise one. I remember once feeling lost and unconnected. I reached out to the Kelach and she was behind a closed door and told me to stop pestering her and sort out the house. She does that. What she meant was pay attention to the world and stop trying to use my craft as an escape. She's a wise old bin. She certainly is. Very wise words. Karen, play my flute or drum to connect, or just sit out in nature or walk in nature. It's the simple things. It's the really, really simple things. Going back to basics, keeping things straightforward. Doesn't need to be fancy. In fact, it shouldn't be fancy, I don't think. Maria, crystals tend to work when you throw them at someone. Indeed. Depends how big the crystal is, I guess. Bit of channel plugging there. Absolutely. I get told off if I don't do any marketing. Lisa, my rose quartz was my first ever crystal. Don't use it for sleep. I just feel a comforting bond to it. I think we all have those crystals, don't we? We all have those that we feel very much connected to. I have my Larimar here that was made by the lovely Pixie Maid with my boar on it, and I wear that all the time. Actually, I've got a bracelet as well with ruby and something unpronounceable in it, and my boar, and that I wear all the time as well. And that forms part of a connection, and that is comforting. It's about finding one that works for you, isn't it? Maria, being a witch to me anyway is having a different mindset to the norm of others. That mindset lives within, so it doesn't matter whether you do spells or not, it's who you are. Well said. Well said. David, I love the fen just down the road from us for that. Just passing it can ground and energise me. We all have those spaces, don't we? My back garden does that. My back garden is my sanctuary. Angela, I've gone back to physical books, Book of Shadows and journals, etc. as I was doing it online for a while, as well as keeping my Book of Shadows on an external hard drive. Thought that was safe in case I didn't have access to the internet for a while. How wrong was I? Yeah. External drive corrupted and was unrecoverable, so I lost everything on it. Yeah, that techie stuff really gets you sometimes. Made me think about the internet too, as we have a lot of power cuts and hackers have taken areas of the internet out for hours at a time. Makes me wonder what would happen if it went down permanently. It can happen. I feel we rely on it too much. But it's definitely changed my practice again. Yeah, it is a useful tool, but if it's down, we do realise how much we rely on it. Yeah, absolutely. And bricks. So please don't throw bricks at people. Disclaimer. Jane, guided meditations really help me. Buying them as CDs is very hit and miss. Best thing is to find some you really like and record yourself reading them into a dictaphone in a low-key voice. I don't like listening to my own voice though. Syrupy affected voice is just great and cause too much distraction. Yes. And I think I've said before, I listen to podcasts a lot. I listen to a lot of meditations from places like Spotify and YouTube as well. It is about finding the right voice. Some of them are just very grating. So yeah, it is about finding the right voice. Karen missed someone wanted out. Yeah, animals. Jane, a lot of witches are dogged by ill health, aren't they? A lot of people are, I think. We just have to work around it and do what we can when we can. It can be very frustrating though. Yes, absolutely. I think perhaps the bonus is that as witches we have an extra toolkit. We have a magical toolkit that can be of some help and support. It's just remembering that we've got that there. Leslie, I'm with David. My connection with nature grounds me again. I need that to stay connected. I would say that's probably the underlying thing throughout all of the pagan pathways is nature. It's always there, I think. Angela, I've started leaving my phone, electronics at home or in the car when we go into nature. Others find it really annoying when they can't get hold of me immediately. Found it a fab way to reconnect. I actually look forward to our power cuts now. Disconnect to reconnect. I think if, and I'm only saying if because it doesn't work for everyone, if you do find that, particularly with mobile phones that we have on us all the time, if you find it is absorbing a lot of your time, then do leave it, in your pocket, in your bag, switched off, whatever, for certain times of the day. But again, it has to work for you. It has to be the right thing for you. Lisa, I'm not even going to read that one out loud because that's just not true. Santa is real. Jamie, getting out into nature is such a great way of reconnecting. I'm so lucky to live right on the coast and near the South Downs too. Me too. But even if you can't go far, going into the garden is just as good. Yes, absolutely. Bear in mind, Lisa, Santa is possibly originated as Odin. And of course, Krampus. He's there. He's there. Sephora. Today I had the joy of finding witchy books at a book fair and pumpkin pottery candle holder. Brilliant. Nice find. David, going back to basics is always good. Yep. We tend to have a habit of taking shortcuts to leap to the end results. Yes. Oh, yes, people do that too much. I like to use a gym metaphor here. Oh, no about that, Eric. Gyms. If you don't go back to basics once in a while, your form will suffer, ending in no results and stagnation. Yes. I think it is wise, even for those that have been on the pathway for 1,000,000 years, to go back to basics occasionally. Yes. Xenia, I have a few inexpensive black obsidian pendants along with a few chunks at home. Black obsidian is my bitch begone stone. It is very good for that. Luna, I'd rather have a book any day to an online one. I think they have their place. I do have a Kindle and I take it with me if I'm going on a train journey or going away for some time. And then I know I've got enough books loaded on there to keep me going rather than the suitcase of books I'd have to take with me. But I much prefer reading an actual book. Leslie, I also feed the birds every day. I do as well, yes. And when my 2 crows come down, I know I'm connected. They first came to me on my birthday 2 years ago after I'd made a connection with Hecate and the Morrigan. I feed the birds every day. And actually, remember that someone mentioned earlier about deity and about your lost connection might be because a new deity's coming in. Don't forget animals as well. Things do happen. I've worked with Magpie for years as an animal spirit guide. 2 weeks ago, when we were tidying up, Eric got hold of my magpie skull and crunched it. The magpie skull is no more. And it actually made me stop and think, magpie hasn't been around for a while. And I thought, perhaps I'm not supposed to work with them anymore. And that's what I thought. Gone, done, dusted. What happened this morning? 2 big magpies outside the bedroom window. So maybe not. It's about listening to stuff. Definitely. So do have a look. There is a blog on my blog post on my blog about losing your connection with some suggestions. Just don't beat yourself up about it. It does happen to all of us. Take your time with it. It might be just that you need a pause. So see what else comes your way. Give yourself time to think about it and then go back to the basics. Do simple, straightforward things that don't require a lot of time or effort. Or reach out. Myself, Ness and Heather are always here if we can help. Do reach out to us. If we can help you, we certainly would. Definitely. Just go with the flow. Don't beat yourself up about it. So have a fabulous week. And I will catch all of you next week. Take care, everyone.